What's up guys, Ivan Carranza here, and today I want to talk about the importance of having a compact setup or a compact rig. This is somewhat related to last week's video where I talked about switching to playing without amps on stage. And well, what happened is that during this summer festival run, we mostly were traveling by car, right? We were on the bus, traveling from city to city, from festival to festival, and we can put all our stuff inside the car in the back. But we had to do a fly date. We had to fly to play a festival, and that's where things started to get interesting, because the band is, drums, the main drums, and an SPDS X, then keys, and he uses a Nord. On top of the Nord, a Moog or Moog. On the left, his computer, and then a native sample pad. Then myself, I'm on the quad Cortex and with my Noble. And then our guitar player, before we switched to being completely ampless, had an HX Tom, a couple of pedals, and then usually a 4x10 amp. So we started asking, okay, what are we going to do for this fly date? What are we taking? Are we, just taking carry-on luggage? Are we taking the guitar and the bass with us? Are we checking it underneath? Are we trying to take it on board of the plane? What are we going to do about this situation, right? Mainly due to logistical reasons, and also due to the fact that the airline was trying to charge us for double the price for taking the guitar and bass in the cabin, so we would have paid twice the amount of money, and we did not feel like checking or gate checking the equipment so that it goes underneath with all the other baggage either, because we all have seen horror stories of instruments getting trashed. And also here in Europe lately, a lot of flights have their baggage delayed, so that we would have risked also the equipment not arriving on time. So we decided just to travel with carry-on luggage. So in my case, I had a carry-on trolley and a backpack. And inside the carry-on trolley, I had a couple of clothes, but mainly I was carrying my quad Cortex in its little suitcase protection case. It's pretty good, it's fairly solid. It's not as hard as my Peli case, for example, but it does the job of transporting the quad Cortex for local gigs and so on. So that went inside my carry-on, and then on my backpack I had my clothes, so we were not taking any instruments with us. The drummer had his clothes and his SPDS X to fire up samples on our backing tracks. The keyboard player had his clothes and also a MIDI controller, a MIDI keyboard, and the guitar player just had his tiny pedalboard with him. So they are setting up the stage right now. We're playing with all the backline rented, so we don't have any of our equipment here. So the bass amp, the basses, the guitars, the guitar amps, the keys, everything is from the backline. So I'm going to be playing with a J bass. I just grabbed it. It's pretty decent. It's of course different than my Dingwall, but because we were flying, that was the best solution for the situation, because I'm going to talk about this more in depth, but getting an instrument on the plane is really a pain. So that was the easiest way to go with rented equipment, but everything is going according to plan, and we should be starting soundcheck soon. And the reason why I say that it's important to have a portable rig is that, for example, in my case, I had my quad Cortex. I know at least that with that piece of gear, I know that I'm sending to front of house a good signal. I know that it sounds good, and I know how to adjust it quickly, especially in a situation when there are so many unknown variables. Before I arrived, I didn't know which bass I was going to get. I don't even know if I was going to get an amp or not. I don't know the quality of the wedges that are going to be put in there for me, because usually we have, or I have, my quad Cortex, my Noble. We are on in-ear monitors, and also I have my Dingwall Super P, so I know how that sounds like in front, how that sounds like in my ears, and I know how the bass responds as well. So in this case, I showed up and they gave me a Fender Jazz, which was fine. And the amp, if I remember correctly, was an Ampeg Portaflex 20. That's the first time I've had the opportunity to play with that amp. It was fine, but for example, I didn't even have a wedge monitor that day. I was just monitoring myself with the amp and then hearing what the other guys had on their monitors to give me, a picture of what the band was playing. And that was mainly due to a tight schedule on the festival, and also because there was limited space also on stage. So knowing at least that with the Quad Cortex, I was providing a good signal to front of house and I knew how to adjust it, gave me some, peace of mind that I knew I was doing at least a good job. And I'm not trying to sell you on getting a Quad Cortex. I'm not trying to sell you on getting any kind of piece of gear here. Maybe your portable rig is just a tuner. Maybe it is, a preamp like the, Tone Hammer or Bass Driver DI or BT Bass or Mesh Engineering DI, whatever. It can be 2 pedals, it can be 1 pedal. It varies entirely on what kind of music you're playing, but having the ability to at least trim down what you have to carry to a gig and get at least, 80% of the sound, I think is something worth chasing if, of course, you're traveling a lot and you're playing in many different locations. Because sometimes also, maybe you're not flying, but due to space reasons in the car or whatever, you might not be able to carry all your gear. So you might have to grab something smaller to play. And like I said, maybe it's just 1 pedal, maybe it's no pedals at all, and you just adjust with your hand positioning, and that is completely fine. But knowing what to do in those situations, I think is very important, because otherwise, if you have to bring your 8x10 and your tube amp and your boat pedal board every single time, that's going to be a problem, because that's going to generate also costs. And like I said, the airline was trying to charge us twice the amount for the flights. And when you start adding all of that up for each of the band members, then the flights end up being quite expensive, and you're probably not gonna get much left out of the gigs at the end of the day. It's of course up to you to do that or not, but if you can just grab something, let's say this size, throw it in your gig bag and travel, or a little suitcase like the one from the Quad Cortex or whatever it is that you're using, I think that's something that makes everyone's lives easier, knowing that they don't have to worry about you carrying extra things. I'm curious to know, what is your current setup? So please let me know in the comments down below what you're taking to gigs at the moment. I hope you guys liked the video. Let me know what you think in the comments, and also don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell to stay up to date with the content that's coming to the channel. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.